An American woman named Zan Christ shares her spiritual journey of finding the light of Islam. She is not just an ordinary person. She does not come from a regular family background, but from a lineage of religious leaders. She is the daughter of a pastor in the country. Both her father and mother have pastoral ancestry from Norway and Germany. Her grandfather and great-grandfather were respected religious figures, and her family had long dedicated themselves to spreading Christian teachings. Since childhood, Zan was raised to be the successor of her family in teaching religion. Every Sunday, she stood in front of the congregation, taught Sunday school, and sang hymns with her melodious voice. She grew up with the firm belief that the religion her family followed was the only truth. The church was her second home, and God was the figure she worshipped through prayers and songs. However, as she grew older, more questions began to arise in her mind. If God is one, why is there the concept of the Trinity, which is difficult to understand? If Jesus is God, why does he pray to another God? If human sins have already been redeemed, why are people still punished for their mistakes? These questions continued to haunt her, but whenever she asked her family or church leaders, she always received vague answers. Zan eventually decided to leave her hometown to pursue higher education at a university. She chose to major in world religions, hoping to gain a deeper understanding of the beliefs held by different people. It was here for the first time that she began studying Islam. Initially, she took the class only because it was part of her curriculum, not out of interest. To her, Islam was a foreign religion, full of negative stereotypes she had often heard in Western media. However, over time, the more she studied Islam, the more she discovered something different. Islam emphasizes the absolute oneness of God, without the confusing concept of the Trinity. Islam teaches that every person is responsible for their own deeds without inherited sin. Islam provides rational explanations about life, the afterlife, and the relationship between humans and God. In fact, she was shocked when she read the Quran and found verses stating that Jesus is not God, but rather a prophet sent by Allah. A concept that made more sense to her compared to the Trinity she had always believed in. As she continued her studies at the graduate level, Zan interacted more frequently with students from various countries. Some of her friends were Muslims from the Middle East and Africa, including a man from Somalia who had extraordinary character. She noticed that her Muslim friends were very calm, humble, and full of love. They never imposed their beliefs on others, but the way they lived reflected something different, a real sense of peace. One of the conversations that changed her life happened when she asked her friend, "Why are you so sure that Islam is the true religion?" Her friend smiled and answered, "Because Islam is not just a religion, but also a way of life. God is one, neither begotten nor begetting. If you seek the truth, open your heart and ask for guidance from the true God." That answer echoed in her mind. That night, for the first time in her life, Zan prayed directly to God without any intermediary. "Oh God, if Islam is the truth, show me the right path." Days went by, and Zan's heart grew more certain. After a long inner struggle, finally in her second year of studies, Zan Christ decided to recite the Shahada. "Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." Tears welled up in her eyes. She felt as though she had been born again, as if she had found something that had been lost in her life for a long time. However, this new journey was not without challenges. When her family found out that Zan had embraced Islam, a great anger erupted. "What have you done, Zan?" her father shouted. "You are the daughter of a pastor. You have betrayed our faith." Her mother cried, while her siblings looked at her with deep disappointment. "Father, I haven't betrayed anyone," Zan said, her voice trembling. "I am just following the truth I have found." But her father could not accept this reality. In a firm voice, he said, "If you stick to your decision, then you are no longer part of this family." That night, Zan left her home with a broken heart. She had lost her family, but she did not lose her faith in the God who had guided her. After embracing Islam, Zan did not stop learning. She deepened her understanding of the religion, learned Arabic, and became active in the Muslim community. Now Zan Christ has become a da'i spreading Islam in America. She frequently gives lectures and speeches at various universities, explaining Islam from a logical and rational perspective. In every lecture, she always strives to correct the misunderstandings about Islam that often arise in the West. She emphasizes that Islam is not a religion of terrorism, not a religion that oppresses, but a religion that brings light, peace, and truth to anyone who is willing to open their heart. The story of Zan Christ is proof that guidance can come to anyone. She was born into a family of pastors, grew up in a very religious environment, but when she sought the truth with an open heart, Allah showed her the way. Now she is no longer a Christian religious teacher, but a spreader of the light of Islam. She is no longer someone who questioned God, but someone who has found the true God. May this story inspire us all to deepen our understanding of Islam, to be more diligent in our worship, and to always be grateful for the guidance Allah has granted us. Ameen, O Lord of the worlds. Amid the glittering life of Australia, where Islam is often misunderstood and seen as foreign, a young woman named Carland embarked on a journey she had never imagined before, a journey toward the light of Islam. Susan was born and raised in a non-Muslim family that held a skeptical view of religion, especially Islam. Since childhood, she grew up believing that Islam was a backward religion, full of restrictive rules and irrelevant to modern life. To young Susan, Islam was not something worth considering, let alone embracing. However, fate had other plans. At the age of 19, Susan's life began to change. Her great curiosity led her to study various religions, not because she was seeking the truth, but because she wanted to prove that Islam was indeed, as people said, outdated, harsh, and irrational. She started reading books about Islam, engaging in discussions with different people, and attending academic gatherings that explored world religions. However, the more she delved into it, the more she discovered something surprising. Islam was nothing like what she had always imagined. I felt like I had been slapped by reality, she recalled. Every question I thought would disprove Islam instead turned around and provided logical and beautiful answers. But there was one thing that haunted her mind. How would the people around her react if she chose Islam? Fear began to creep into her. She imagined her family being disappointed, her friends distancing themselves, and society judging her. A great turmoil raged within her. She wanted to deny the truth she had begun to realize, but her inner voice kept whispering, "This is what you've been searching for all along." Until one night, in the silence of her room, Susan made the biggest decision of her life. She recited the Shahada. Tears streamed down her face. She felt a peace she had never experienced before, but she also knew this was just the beginning of a journey full of challenges. Being a Muslim in Australia was not easy, especially for a woman from a non-Muslim background. When news of her decision spread, Susan faced an overwhelming storm. "I lost some friends. They thought I had chosen the wrong path," she said. "Some even asked how an intelligent woman like me could choose a religion that is perceived as oppressing women." However, Susan did not back down. She was confident in her decision and sought to prove that Islam is a religion that honors women, not oppresses them. Her journey in Islam deepened. She not only continued learning, but also began to engage in dawah. She wanted to show the true face of Islam, one of love, mercy, and justice. Year after year passed, and her influence continued to grow. She founded the television program Salam Cafe, a show that introduced Islam to the Australian public in a relaxed and inclusive way. The program became popular and was watched by both Muslims and non-Muslims. Susan also actively spoke at various forums, from churches to Jewish communities, from schools to business organizations. She wanted the world to see Islam from a different perspective, through the eyes of a woman who was once skeptical, but had now become a part of Islam. Then, in 2004, Zan Carland was awarded the title of Australian Muslim of the Year, surpassing many other prominent Muslim figures, including men. She not only received the award, but also won a prize of $2,000. However, without hesitation, she donated the entire amount to various charitable organizations, both Muslim and non-Muslim. Islam teaches us to give, not just to receive, she said with a warm smile. However, Susan's journey did not stop there. She still had to face a major challenge: the stigma that Islam and terrorism were inseparable. Every time a terrorist attack happens, Muslims around the world are viewed with suspicion, including me, she said. I have to keep explaining that Islam is not about violence, but about peace. Despite this, she remained steadfast. She knew that the truth did not need to be defended with hatred, but with good character. I believe that Islam is the true religion, she stated, and the world needs to realize how beautiful it is to be a Muslim. Today, Zan Christ is not only an academic and activist, but also an inspiration to many Muslim women in Australia and around the world. From a girl who once doubted Islam to becoming one of the most influential Muslim figures, her story is proof that guidance can come from the most unexpected paths, and that the truth will always find its way, even if it must pass through a storm. May this story inspire us all to strengthen our faith in the beauty of Islam and continue worshiping with sincerity. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen.